Welcome to Full Throttle Talk, the podcast where horsepower meets conversation. From supercars to classic legends, high revving tech to motorsport mayhem, we cover it all. Straight from the driver's seat, whether you're a gearhead or racer or just love the thrill of the open road, you're in the right place. Buckle up, hit the gas, and let's go full throttle into today's episode.
All right. Well, you guys,
and you guys got to remember, I mean, I'm getting up at 5:30, and me getting up in my current condition is like a walrus trying to unbeach itself. So it doesn't happen easily. So I finally get to my desk, in my disabled state. Thank God my wife pours me coffee. She tries to cheer me up with my Lamborghini cup, and I was like, it's only going to cheer Tim up, not me. So
exactly.
It's a lot, but I'm here. I'm like, you know what? I need a hat to make me happy. So I love Hill Country. You know that Steve McQueen line, like everything, racing is life and everything in between is just waiting. That is me with Rally.
Well, I'm waiting for you to stop talking so I can let you know that we've been recording already and we officially started the podcast.
As you should, because like I said, I think the gold is here, but
yeah. So listen, this is Tim Harris. I'm here with Paul, Casey, and Dave, and this is your favorite weekly podcast. Paul challenged me to start the recording prior to the actual show starting because sometimes that's where our most interesting yammering actually commences, even though today we just heard Paul belly aching for not quite having enough coffee in his system. But listen, this is going to be a fantastic podcast. We worked a ton on the content for this week's show. We have a lot to talk about. A lot has happened since the last podcast. And just to review with you guys, this week we're going to be talking about what we did or what you did in cars this week. We're going to get to listener questions. And Dave, thanks for reminding me that we promised to get to that right out of the top of today's show. We're going to talk a little bit about automotive news. We're going to, hopefully, we usually don't get past the fourth question, but is what 3 modern 1999 or newer Porsches would you buy with 500 grand? That was a good topic.
We have to get to that one.
I agree with Casey.
I agree.
Too much time spent on that.
Okay, I agree. So let's have a goal. We at least get through question 4. Are you guys in with me on this one?
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then if we get past that, which we probably won't, it will be this week in auctions, which, is always fun. Then we're going to get to Casey's point, which he's had up here for 16 years. He wants to talk about spoilers or wings. Would be a fun topic if we get to it.
I deleted all those pictures, so we're not going to get to that one.
Yeah,
actually, we might, being that I deleted all the pictures.
Oh,
I have the pictures somewhere.
Okay,
but
new goal.
That'll have to be like the top of the. You will have to definitely plan ahead that we're definitely for sure going to do that because I gave up on it, like Casey.
Okay, well, I put it back in. So if we get to it, and I probably will try to push through segment 6 just because you guys aren't prepared. So that would be fun to watch you squirm on camera. All right, point number 7 is bonus best modern Porsche from 959 forward. So without any further delay, Paul, what did you do in cars this week? And I know you are on the mend, so we're not expecting you to have climbed Everest.
No. I mean, Sunday evening or late afternoon evening was my first big outing, and it felt so great to get out. I didn't really load a lot of the pictures, but I'll come back with them while some of the other people are talking. But basically, went to Matt Farah's house, and it was, really just sort of getting to see all of my car friends, people I get to spend time with on the mountain, stuff like that. There we go. There's Matt and there's Jay Ryan. Tons of pictures like that. And it was a cool event. Matt always has a neat event. He has a very cool group of friends, and it's a mixture of automotive journalists, people that you would know, some people in the entertainment, music. But just the funny thing is the undercurrent is car people. And my wife and several of the spouses I thought would go nuts, but they actually enjoyed hanging out and talking cars. And probably the best conversation was Johnny Lieberman, Marco Gerasi of TLG, and myself got in one of the most heated conversations about cars that if you could have had a microphone on, I mean, if you stood near us, you would just bounce off of the orbit of our heated conversation. And then the best part was Jeff Glucker, who's an automotive journalist. He comes up to me and Marco because he writes for all kinds of magazines, but he's not a Porsche guy. He's driven Porsches, done some reviews, but mostly every other kind of normal car. And so he's like, okay, guys, I've got like the Porsche nerds of all nerds sitting here. He looks at me and Marco. He's like, 964 or 993. And Marco and I in unison said neither. And then he just was baffled, and we were dying laughing because Marco, who works on them, and I, who sell them, it's sort of like if you know, you know. So that was really the highlight of the weekend. Yeah,
Paul, it's, not all of our listeners, because we've picked up a lot of folks. We added 1,000 followers on Instagram, and the podcast is going through the roof. Not all of them know about what you just went through, and we shouldn't assume that they do, but I think a lot of them would actually like to know what you're referring to. Yeah. And I'll tee you up. Paul just got out of the hospital for having just an absolutely, I don't even know how to describe it, but terrifying experience. So there, I teed you up.
So as my doctor, the orthopedic oncologist said, it is going to be like a bomb went off in your left side of your body, or a truck ran over you. End of April, got pain in my hip. And by the way, this is for anyone out there that has pain that they just are going to chalk up to being older and arthritis. Go check it out. Thank God I did. Had a hard time getting my left leg into the car, and when lifting it up, went and got an MRI. Long story short, found out there was a very large tumor in my pelvis. It was cancer. Nothing like being told you have cancer. And even though that's something someone else gets, and we were shocked, it turned into a procedure called a hemipelvectomy, where they remove half of or a third of your pelvis, and then you get the bonus of a free hip replacement and part of your femur and all that at the same time. But which results in a 5-week hospital stay. Should have been 8, but I've been aggressive on PT. Finally got home on Friday. Pain meds have not kicked in since I got up this morning, but it is everyone's like, oh, you get great pain meds. Literally, it just turns the volume from 11 down to 10. A lot of pain. But what is it? No pain, no gain, character building, so forth. So right now, everyone's like, oh, you can't drive a manual yet. Manual transmission will come. The big clincher is one of the doctors we met with beforehand said, I will never drive a sports car again. Like, I mean, my wife looks at him. He's like, you don't understand. This isn't a cute hobby. Like, this is a profession.
Did you tell him to shove his Prius up his ass when he said that to you?
We then decided he wasn't our doctor. He was quietly fired. The only good thing was we got a prescription of pain meds out of him before we left. Thank you very much. So yeah, and that really is the big question. I wear this crazy brace because I can't bend my hip to my torso more than 90 degrees. And this brace I have keeps it from 180 to 90. That's it. So the next time you get in your 911 or any car, just try to imagine you can't bend your hip more than 90 degrees. And
well, let's full circle this. You had a successful operation. Mm-hmm. You've got a really badass piece of titanium custom-made kit in your body.
I'm really cancer-free.
Cancer-free. And more salty than ever. And you are going on your first rally coming up. You want to go on your first rally. And Paul is formally begging anyone, be it an automobile manufacturer, be it anybody local that's listening, the brother needs a ute. He cannot get in and out of a low slung car. He needs a ute, ideally a Porsche. He threw a Volvo up there, or I think.
Well, this is my wife's Volvo. I bought her new last year. And it actually wouldn't be a bad choice. And while people were inebriated at Matt's thing, they somehow convinced Jennifer that she could have my Tortuga green 911 if I borrowed her Volvo XC60. And then once everyone sobered up the next day, I don't think I want the responsibility. It's not even about her using my car. I don't care. I don't want the responsibility of damaging hers. So I literally rented this 2021 Macan. Sorry, Dave, base Macan. Hard to find GTSs. But in the end of the day, this rally is a 7 or 8 day rally, 1999 and older. We just want they're vintage cars. I don't need fast. I want decent handling. So this is just a placeholder. I can cancel within 72 hours of the rally, which is October 9th. So if someone else has a better idea for
Is that an S? Is that an S, Paul, or is that a
base,
just a base? Okay.
4-cylinder, 248 horsepower, it really is fine. It's perfect for what I need. I got a 2,000-mile limit, which the rally should be just about that. So
Well, you're stepping on my begging for you, brother. So what is it that you're looking for? You're looking ideally for like a Bentayga. You would be great in a bright purple Urus. I mean, what are we rocking out here?
um, anything that is handles well and is fun to drive, that's SUV based in the sense that I can get in without bending more than 90 degrees.
Now, and if you happen to have his favorite car, a 90s Escalade, ideally black with a couple bullet holes in it and some 20-inch, at least 24-inch chrome wheels with tiny little tires, that would be actually ideal.
And then have the stickers like, not for rent or hire, TCP
exactly.
livery. Yeah. So anyway,
all right.
that's what I did. Fun times.
All right. So finish up your cup of coffee. I know it's the crack of dawn out in California. Casey, what did you do in cars this week, my friend?
I want to go on the record in saying that Jeff Glucker is one of my favorite automotive journalists out there. He and I used to do beer exchanges back in the day, which reminds me that I'm well overdue for sending him out something from the East Coast. But I've not done a tremendous amount since our last podcast. The one thing I did do was put about 120 miles on the 964. A bunch of friends and I, cars that I've had hands in, the car that Dave put the interior in for me, and a 996 that I just finished up some work on and haven't put many photos up yet. And my buddy Joe that works for Porsche in his 65 Beetle. We all went out to a brewery out in the mountains of Virginia. It's a great time. Car ran flawlessly, no issues at all. So excited to put some more miles on it. Still trying to wrap my head around a 600-mile round trip to Luft in the car, which still trying to wrap my head around it. So that's where we are.
Whether it's going to make it or not?
I'm worried about me making it in that car for that long.
Come on, I've done 800 miles in my 964 and got out, and it was beautiful.
I'm just trying to get a rise out of both of you.
I did 4,500 miles in multiple states and countries in a 86. So.
Well, since we're talking about comfort and seats, I'll tell you guys a funny story that involves Matt Farah. So we had our 718 Spyder RS stored at his place. This was 2 car weeks ago, not this last one, the one before. I'd never seen the car before. It shipped directly from Texas out to him. And then I also shipped out, and this is the part that's kind of funny, seat cushions for both the driver and the passenger seat, with the sports seats. And I had the lower back issue with those sports seats for me is the real deal. Anyway, so he opened those up, and I'm telling you, the look he gave me when I arrived there, or when we showed up, and he realized that I was be rocking the sports seats with the seat pads on, was something I'll never quite get over. I'm still licking my wounds from that. So there's my suggestion to you, Casey. Consider getting some seat cushions if you're worried about the seats. Okay, so Dave, what did you do in cars this week?
And a couple of fun things. The one behind me right now, we have been working kind of behind the scenes. I mentioned last week that we were working with the folks in Charlottesville on their Porsche Restoration Challenge entry. And this week we were wrapping up some work we did with Hendrick. It's all interior stuff that we're doing here on their entry into the Porsche Restoration Challenge, which is an 87 959 that actually was the test mule for General Motors against the Corvette. When they bought the car, it's an 87. They brought it in to test it. The car's only got about 2,000 miles on it. Apparently, it has 2 different speedos that have different mileage on them. They couldn't deal with the kilometers, so the GM guys had to get a miles per hour speedometer, and they stuck that in there as well. But after it sat in a warehouse for years and years and years, GM gifted it to Rick Hendrick. Not a bad gift, but I guess probably when you do the volume and you're Rick Hendrick, you know how it goes. So they get this car and they're entering it in the restoration challenge. And while the car only has 2,000 some odd miles on it, they were 2,000 some odd hard miles on it. So you can imagine the amount of stuff that they were ripping in and out of this car. And certainly up front, they pulled out all this carpeting. And so our task was to replace and create a new carpet kit for this front section here on the car. And if you knew these cars, this section at the back there where back by where the shock towers are there, it's all molded and is all actually molded with the carpet's got like a rubberized backing on it. So we had to come up with some crazy stuff on that to get that all sorted out. But I had to go up there and actually do the final, believe it or not, I actually laid my hands on a razor blade and started cutting away on this thing. So, um, yeah, so I went up and helped fit that. So that was part of my week. And then, of course, the
Did you
other
get
part
did you get to
was
drive it yet, Dave? Or is
That's
no,
this
what
but
I
I've
was
driven.
hoping.
I mean, I've driven other cars.
959s?
Oh yeah, yeah, and I will
come on,
say,
Tim? I mean, have you not driven a 959, Mr. Ferrari?
Uh, I haven't.
we
No.
have one that we have here at the shop that is it's a local client who has a white Comfort as well with a burgundy interior, and that particular car drives like a stagecoach. I was told when I was up at Hendrick because I asked about it because I asked if this car drove as badly, and most of the issues are that apparently there's two sets of dampening shocks on the top of at each corner, and one of them that controls some level of bounce, or it might be the up and down adjustment on the car. I think that's what it is. Fails over time and it screws up the rebound. And all of a sudden you're driving down the road and you're like this. And I was thoroughly underwhelmed by it, unfortunately. So that's been my experience with 959 driving. How about you, Paul? You've driven them, I'm sure. You've
Yeah,
sold them?
I drove one that was bought at auction at the Atlanta Pecla auction years ago. Went straight to Tony Callis, who's probably the one of the best West Coast guys to restore to stock. Did a 1 or 2 year, six-figure refurbishment. And the seller, the owner, who's such a sweet person, lives here near me. He drove it straight from Tony Callis after spending seven figures for the car, six figures to restore it, 2.5 years of waiting. His trip from Tony Callis stopped at my shop, and he begged me to drive it. And I could not say no more. I said no, 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 and I ended up driving it. And
Was it a hero car issue? You didn't want to drive it because you thought you'd be disappointed?
No, it was the fact that this guy, it was his dream car too, that he's waited all this time. And, if you've been around, Tim's been in Orange County. Costa Mesa is not the best driving test circuit, especially 4 in the afternoon, 4 p.m. in the afternoon on a Friday. It's just nuts. And I am absolutely stricken with fear because I know Murphy's Law is hanging around the corner. Long story short, went for a test drive. We talked about in the chat how this sequential turbo, if you're not used to, it's literally like this handshake, where it does the low turbo, whatever, and then it just sort of goes, here you go, and then you grab the other turbo. I would love to spend more time, but you could tell that the 993 turbo is just the 959 refined for normal use.
This is kind of like a segment 4 thing today because
Yeah, sorry, we'll skip it.
talking
But
about that.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I drove it like you, underwhelmed and scared to death.
All right. I just
The
put
other
it. I
thing I
just
did real quickly, hang on one second, Tim, because I do want this video to circle back around to that right there,
all
which
right. You're
you got
teeing
to
me up.
admit, this was for Tim. The minute I saw this thing, it was like, holy cow, I got to get a picture of that for Tim.
This is
That
Florida,
apparently, I
right,
guess,
Dave? Is this
what's
Florida?
that?
Is this in
No, that's
Florida?
actually up in Petoskey, Michigan, which is an absolutely gorgeous part of the world that I have spent the last couple of Labor Days in, and it's just beautiful up there. But that particular thing, the minute I saw it, it was like, oh, I'm rushing down to the dock to get a picture of that for Tim. I guess it's a LaFerrari watercraft, right, Tim?
Well, so for those of you who are listening only, because we have to make sure they understand, he's showing me, showing all of us a picture. You guys should definitely watch this on YouTube or Instagram. But it's basically somebody really looked like they spent a lot of time and effort to make a boat look, oh, I have to say, really close to a LaFerrari. It's pretty incredible, actually. So yeah, there you go. I mean, who on this podcast wouldn't rock that thing up in Michigan of all places? Of course you would.
I mean, I'm sure the boat registration said like Pompano Beach or something on the back of it, but I
Oh,
just saw that and I just saw all of those 90s Girls Gone Wild videos just flash before my eyes, thinking like if they had access to this kind of watercraft, it would have sent it to a new level. But Tim, you just sent us all a picture and there is
Yeah.
nothing
So
like
that
that. Tell us what's up.
The reliable, well, okay. So what I did in cars this week, let me just, so for the first time in probably a month or two, we took our Ferrari 296 GTS, which is going to tee us up perfectly for our first listener comment, by the way. Ferrari 296 GTS out on the road, and I totally fell in love with it again. Now that we've decided we're not going to get the Speciale, we are giving ourselves permission to start using the Ferrari without worrying about the miles. So that is what we're starting to do. I am trying to scheme up the perfect scenario where I can pick Zoe up from school in the Ferrari and pull off that scene from Ferris Bueller.
I was about to say, you got to do it. Like, cue the music.
Totally.
Yeah.
But she'll be mortified, and it's perfect. More mortified, the better. So that's one thing. Second thing is the Triumph TR2. I'm going from a freaking talking about a modern Ferrari to a 1954 Triumph TR2. Thank you, Dave. That car literally just got dropped off by reliable carriers in our driveway, so that's pretty exciting. I actually haven't seen it, so that'll be kind of fun to see. That's a bring a trailer score, so that's really cool. And I also spent a lot of time. Well, I have two other quick announcements, and I'm only mentioning these things because all other people out there listening or watching are going to relate to what I'm about to say. I love sim racing, and not sim racing as in playing a video game, but I had an actual professional sim racing rig built and installed 2 years ago. And the guy that did it is Oliver Norris from Cool Performance, coolperformance.com. You guys should check it out. But Oliver Norris, you might recognize the last name. That's Lando Norris's older brother. And Oliver's built race sims. This is the reason I chose him, is he doesn't usually deal with dopey consumers like me. Most of the sims he builds are for actual race car drivers. And he built, I think, for the top, at least this was 2 seasons ago, I think he had like half the top Formula One drivers using his sims. So
and here I thought you were going to say Chuck Norris. Sorry.
No. I know you don't follow Formula One, but Casey's impressed, I promise you. Yeah, so that's the other thing. And sim racing, if you've ever done it before, it is, I would say, from having driven on tracks that I've raced on in the sim, Mid-Ohio in particular is where I got my sports car license, and an open wheel car. It's definitely not the same because you don't have the fear of death that you do in real life, but it is probably 90% the same in terms of technique. And anyway, iRacing, and if you've ever thought about getting into sim racing, is exceptionally fun and really does satisfy a lot of my need to go driving, which isn't really, placated here in Puerto Rico. And the last little bit is I'll skip okay. So my daughter and I have decided that we're going to start a go-kart team because they're building a track that's near here with real go-kart, real electric go-karts, basically, not the type you'd see in malls, but these are ones that were built in Italy. They're the real racing carts. There's gonna be 4 classes. So if any of you've got any go-kart racing experience and I've done go-kart racing in the past, but I've never tried to get a kid involved. So if any of you have any parental advice on how to get your kid involved, especially a little girl in go-kart racing, she says she wants to do it, let me know. I'll certainly appreciate the parenting advice. So there we go. Moving on. All right, guys. Did I get everybody? I did. All right. So let's go on to the next question. Dave, I did have a question in there, but we can circle back. I want to ask you more about the interior stuff, but we'll go back to it or maybe make that a question for an upcoming podcast. And I'll just tee it up for you guys to think about. Maybe this will motivate you to ask questions as well. You saw that Dave is restoring the interior of a 959, and he does a lot of really incredible interior work. I personally am curious about why a Singer interior. What are the materials that they're using? Why is it that, German square weave carpet, is it made of wool or is that just a myth? I want to know all the little details that we've all heard for the last, few generations that might just be urban myths about interior stuff. If that motivates you for questions, definitely pose those to us in Instagram. That is where we're getting most of the direct messages. All right, let's get to listener questions. And I'll read the first one because frankly, it validates, proves that you guys were all wrong on the little survey I did last week. So I'm obviously going to choose that one first. Are you guys reading the DMs that we're getting on Insta?
Oh yeah,
a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, then I noticed you guys you're not mentioning or responding to the ones that are clearly Ferrari fans. All right. So this is from the legendary P911R. And he said, keep cranking out the fantastic content. Looking forward to the next episode. The Ferrari banter might be my favorite part. P.S. P.S. 4-cam 356 GS over Emery Outlaw all day long.
So, and I saw that, and I love Michael. He is solid gold. He is. I met him on the Hill Country Rally. He is from Texas. He has excellent taste in cars, and he says that about the 4-cam, and that is his Porsche artery speaking. It's not his use artery speaking, which I think if you really held a gun to him and said, look, there's no future value in that decision. You basically get one and you get to keep it as long as you want until you're done with it. I have a feeling, put his foot
And
to
you
the
look at it in
fire,
your garage.
put it in your
You
garage,
don't
and he
drive
lives
it.
in Houston, which is freaking hot. I'm pretty sure he's choosing an Emery, but I appreciate his answer and I know where he's going with that because that is the knee-jerk reflex of a true Porsche person, which he is.
Wow, that is a really long rationalization where you could have just said, yes, I see the other person's perspective and I might be wrong. But whatever, Paul, whatever works for you, man.
Yeah, that works.
All right. Well, so there's a lot of other comments we've had, and I'm going to try to summarize these as opposed to actually reading them. We did have a lot of interesting conversation about just people are really loving our topics. And I think what people are really appreciating about the podcast is that we're not just skimming the surface and reading the, essentially elaborate press releases from Porsche and whatnot. So this was a question I think that I've had a version of this direct message to me a lot because I find this topic interesting. And I'm going to just read to you my summary of it. The question that stood out to me the most was about personality types. That's not really the way they were framing it, but the types of people that buy cars. For example, and I want you guys to answer this question. Describe the new Porsche owner. Go ahead, Paul. Describe the new Porsche owner. A new Porsche owner is, describe them.
I think the new Porsche owner is someone who still, let me define this. There's the new Porsche owner, which there's two markets. There's the world, which I don't understand, China, Germany, whatever. And there's PCNA, Porsche Cars North America, which is the world I do understand. And I think the new Porsche owner, for the most part, is, and we'll take out four-door Porsches, just 911s, is someone who this is a milestone, a bucket list, just like a Ferrari buyer or someone else, a first-time buyer. It's something that they've always wanted and dreamed of. That's part of the market, and those are the guys who are going to buy a 991 or 992.2S, a cab, nothing that has GT on the front. The other half of the buyer is the GT buyers, and these are two different markets. And those are social media hounds. Those are people who are day trading their cars, who are looking at future value, and it has nothing to do with driving a 911. That's who the modern Porsche buyers. It's
all right. So now I actually agree with you, but I'm going to embellish that. You guys can see in the notes. So Casey, I want you to describe to me the old Porsche buyer. And it's so funny. What old is? I don't know. How about, water cooled back, like the, 1999 back. Describe the old Porsche buyer, or even if you wanted to, 80s, G-body back.
I would actually, in my experience, I've got more, of course, knowledge talking about newer cars because being that I was on the retail side of Porsche, I would honestly defer that to Paul.
Actually, let's defer it to Dave because he deals with old Porsches, having been to a shop. They're coming out of his ears. So describe the old Porsche. Describe the traditional old Porsche buyer.
Well, traditional, of course, was definitely a guy in his late 40s or 50s who grew up with the cars, and that was the guy that now same kind of thing. He lusted after them when he was in high school, and now he's got some money, and he's certainly been told by all of his other water-cooled friends that he needs one of these cars. The current guys are much younger. I think personally, that's what I'm seeing is I definitely see a number of these guys coming in that are much younger. The 356 guys that Paul's pointing at. Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No. The 356 guys. You guys are leading this conversation perfectly. But I wanted to emphasize what you're saying. There's a big bifurcation that's happening between the old types of buyers and the new types of buyers, and it's really quite. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, as I say, I mean, this is a picture of Max Hoffman's showroom in New York, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, with like one of the early 356 Speedsters in his showroom. And this was a perfect example of someone who thought they knew who the buyers were, and this is back in 54, versus someone who actually knew. So Max Hoffman, who's importing Jaguars and other kinds of cars, who is also older, is thinking, okay, the buyer of these cars are GT, they want to cruise. Meanwhile, he has his partner who handles West Coast distribution for Porsche, who's Johnny von Neumann. Johnny von Neumann is the driver. He's racing these things. And he's like, no, 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 no. You got it all wrong. This is who the buyer is. These are people who want to drive. They want to, it's a lifestyle. They want to have fun with it. They want to go racing. We need to build a car that's more affordable, that's more sport purpose. I mean, really, the 356 Speedster is the true, parental GT car. And this pops up. And then from that day forward, I think Porsche has always been going back and forth. Is it a GT car? Is it a sports purpose car? And depending on like the 80s, I would say we leaned more towards GT, which stayed all the way through the 90s. But I would say, going back to when Casey said I would know, I find that the most of the older air-cooled buyers, even in period, they were professionals who were highly trained and had almost professionals that used their hands, that were mechanically oriented, like dental workers, orthodontists, periodontists, surgeons, pilots, engineers.
Drill down, but what are the elements of what you're describing, all right? And we won't stay on this too long because some people are probably yawning, but you're dealing with generally speaking, very analytical types who are probably mostly introverted, who appreciate quality and the rest of it. And that's what the personality style is of the old car.
Exactly.
That's what
Yeah, exactly. They would never buy a Ferrari because they're not motivated by looks. They love the beauty of how the thing's assembled, and which goes to your comment. I think I don't know if it was posted on Instagram, but you basically said, Ferraris start with something beautiful and then they figure out how to package the whole thing. And the Germans, 911s, they're like, okay, here's the perfect driving machine. We got to put a dress on the thing, and whether it's good or not, it is what it is.
So you said that is a really valid point, though. It's a different in the Germanic philosophy versus, Italian or whatever. When you go to Ferrari used to go originally, he would go to Pininfarina, and Enzo would then, I'm on first name basis with him, of course. Yeah. And then he would buy a design, and then he would take it back to Maranello, and then they would, actually, I don't think it was in Maranello at the time, but here nor there. And then they would essentially design the mechanics of the car to fit underneath the body that he just basically bought the rights to. And that's how a lot of the original, and so they would design the engines and the transmissions and the layouts around something beautiful, where the Germans did it the exact opposite. They would do the mechanics first, and then they would sculpt the body around it. But Paul, the point I think we're all getting to is I think that's actually changed, and I think it is definitely going to continue changing.
And this is where it changed for Porsche. When this guy, Andy, as we are, and like you and Enzo, me and Andy, first name basis. Andy shows up on the scene, but he's misunderstood. People forget that Andy Pruniger spent a lot of time in Southern California. He has like this, Germans love Southern California if they've spent any significant time. And he really adopted to the lifestyle. But this guy is us. We herald him as like the savior of Porsche because he loves to drive. And everything he's building, from the 996.2 GT3, which was his first contribution, to the latest GT3 RS, I would love to talk to him and find out, is he as frustrated as we are with the image that the new GT3 RS has presented? Because he wants lap times.
Okay, so pause there. That is perfect. Thank you. You're teeing me up. That is the question, and that's what people are trying to wrestle with, which personally, especially after this last car week, I don't know if you guys listened to Spike's Car Radio today. Did you guys all listen to it?
Yeah, with all the rests and tickets.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
That was what I was trying to describe. My experience was, and Julie and I's experience was, when we were at Car Week too. It was not like it's always been before. I'm not saying it wasn't good. I'm just saying completely different vibe. And so now, just full circle in this conversation, the traditional Porsche buyer has been basically a highly educated professional, that type of person. The new Porsches, and this is what's really shocking to me, and this is where I'm fearful this is going to go. The new Porsche GT3, GT3 RS, GT4s, all these are not just being there. I would venture a guess the minority of the buyers that are buying those cars now, I'm only guessing, are true enthusiasts, or we like to consider ourselves to be true enthusiasts. And I think the new generation of buyers that are buying these cars are not buying them because they give really two hoots about the performance aspects. It's just for flash and bang. And again, it's a flex for them. It's something because they see people on Instagram using these cars. I still love them. Everyone else still loves them. But my fear is, and this is what I've been trying to express on this podcast, is that Porsche is going to follow Ferrari. And what Ferrari did, if you look at the Challenge Stradale, the 360 Challenge Stradale used a lot of the challenge parts on the car. And then as we went to the 430 Scuderia, less challenge parts. And we went to the 458, less challenge parts. And now these newer generations of these supercars, in the Ferrari world, the super sports car series, the specialty cars, they have no parts that they're sharing between the race car versions and the street car versions. Whereas Porsche has direct part transfer, in case you would know better than me, between the street cars and the actual race cars. Same part numbers, same everything. My fear is Porsche is going to see that, you know what, we don't have to be putting all these high-end parts and all this titanium jazz in these cars. No one gives a rat's ass that the springs in a GT2 RS are titanium. Nobody cares. They're going to buy it anyway. But you know what we can do is we can put more stripes, more decals, more blah, 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 give them more choices for different leathers, and that's the direction we're going to go. Discuss.
Well,
Go
I
ahead,
had a
Casey.
question for Casey and also Dave. So you're saying here's who the new buyer is. I'm sure guys like Andy don't like the new buyer, but it funds his secret lab to go build the stuff he wants to do. So he'll just justify it. So you get someone like, going back, Spike and Paul Zuckerman, who have their Plan Z, and they rotate through these cars. Where do they fall on that level? Where are they on the new car buyer? Are they old enthusiasts?
What I think is going to happen, what I personally think is going to happen is they're going to buy the older cars. That's what I think is going to happen. I think it's very possible because Porsche is obviously in money grab mode and they're going to make billions of I got some nasty comments, pseudo nasty comments when I said there was going to be a GT3 convertible. I'm sure there's going to be a GT3 convertible. I'm sure there's going to be a speedster. Then there's going to be variations of whatever. There's going to be the Heritage Edition, this edition. It's a money grab. It's what Ferrari has done. And when that happens, Paul, and by the way, Andy's retiring. And so when that happens, who's going to hold the line for the true enthusiast product? Nobody will, because Porsche's going to say, come bring me the money, baby. And then the older cars are going to take off in value, which by the way, benefits the three of you guys. That's my opinion.
I think Porsche does not make that change. I think at least on the GT3s, GT2s, all the RS cars, I think they stay with that. I just don't see them making that change. It's back to your point earlier, Tim, about Ferrari, Italian versus German. I think the German mindset would be sacrilegious to not make those cars. I'm not saying that they're not going to, trollop up a bunch of, base cars and put stickers on them and those kinds of things and special editions. But I think at the pinnacle, at the GT3, GT2, all the high-end
$1 million
stuff,
cars, Dave. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And the ones that will be the pinnacle cars with all the special parts are going to be unattainium. And it's going to come out that they're just going to do a series of special edition cars of, 2,000 here, 1,500 there. I don't
really... Chime in on this. Chime in. What do you think?
Waiting for a break.
No, I get it.
For those that don't know my background, I started selling Porsches in 2006. For about 11 years. And then I managed a dealership, which was a premier dealer, and we did all kinds of great things and had all kinds of great clients. I saw a lot of the progression from the times in 2008 where we couldn't sell anything, including, I had to discount a 4-liter when the thing was brand new, the whole way up through the 911 or the 918 exclusive program, continuing through 2016, 2017, when things fell flat, through 2020 when things exploded. So I believe I've got a pretty decent kind of mindset as to how these things are progressing. The way that I see it is Porsche is an engineering company. They are not, while they do have special edition cars and that they've always had, they had black edition cars of 911s, Caymans, and Boxsters that they basically used to get rid of old parts. They had Porsche Design Edition cars back in 2008 with Caymans and Boxster S's, they've always had these cars. There's always been special edition cars that have come out. I remember looking at Renlist threads back in the day when people would say things like, man, there's 36 versions of a 911. I can't believe this. That's always going to continue. Porsche had interesting interiors back in the day. They had things with, stripes in them, with Porsche script, and Dave can echo these kind of things. Rather than offering them as options, Porsche makes them special editions. People like to look back to the past. People like to see that, and that's important. As far as GT clients are concerned, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. In my experience, about 80% of the people that I sold cars to either only drove them, or of GT and RS cars, only drove them to Cars and Coffee or left them in their garage in hopes that they would go up in value.
You just made my point, right?
But I look after a number of different cars now that, STs with delivery miles, GT3 RSs with delivery miles, these sorts of things, because that's a certain type of buyer. But at the same time, I do have a client that has a GT3 RS that also has 992 Cup cars and Super Cups and all these crazy things, that actually does go out and drive the car as intended. And I do have clients that do that, but I do believe that, looking back on it, Porsche is becoming an aspirational brand. They're looking at the things that are being purchased right now as, like, Tim, you sent us a video that Doug DeMuro did about things that are going to go up in value. A lot of people, the same people that buy Rolex Submariners that are weird colors and those sorts of things, I believe that's a similar mindset to people that are buying these RS cars. They see them as the possibility of money in, money out. I think that's what Spike and Paul Zuckerman always say. It's the kind of thing that you can look at it. It's probably better than sitting in a cash bank account somewhere, because at least you can sit it in your garage. So there is a big differentiation there, that there are people that really use these cars. And I got a client that one of the last things I did when I left Porsche was to make sure that he got an RS. He took European delivery of the car, went to Zandvoort, went to Spa, went to Nürburgring. I mean, doesn't get any bigger than that.
Something I know you love, like love, is 964 RS, right? So the challenge with the 964 RS is finding one that wasn't overused, right?
Sure.
If you want to go out, and by the way, there was a great conversation. I hope you guys caught that in the comments on Instagram. A guy that was an absolute locked in, a 964 RS expert. Just fantastic conversation I had with him.
Justin Roser, Boss Hall.
That's right.
Great guy.
Yep. Really good guy. In any event, look at a 964 RS. Like, he was giving me advice basically on how to go about finding one. The challenge is finding one that wasn't beaten to shit. I think the challenge on some of the, especially the new GT3 RS in the future, is going to be find one that's actually been driven, because the nature of the buyer and what they're used and the use case for these cars is changing. And that's just in my observation. And I hope I'm wrong, because it's going to give Porsche permission to basically start making more, let's just say it, complacent products. Paul is finally agreeing with me about something. Yes, Paul?
No, it is. And and for someone like me, it's frustrating, because I feel like we're on this precipice where it could tilt either way. But then going back to it, like I said, there's two buyers. There's North America buyers, and there's the rest of the world. And like I mentioned several podcasts ago, when I came back from Germany, at the Nürburgring, GT3 RSs, Manthey editions, STs, all these really valuable cars, hauling the mail around Nürburgring. They pull into that little parking lot, and I'm this weirdo. Like, you know how hard it is to subtly check the hood for PPF on a car you don't know? And just sort of like put your hand behind, yawn. And I'm looking for a lip. No PPF. They don't care. They drive their cars. So I still think the European market at least looks at these the same way they looked at 964 RSs, and they're going to beat the heck out of them, which then comes back to the only good ones are going to be in North America, and they're going to sit in garages.
Well,
and it'll give Porsche, going back to your point, it'll give Porsche the reasoning they need to maybe make them not as cool when you pull the, like you said, not the fancy parts, because we will still buy the sticker package because it's a limited edition.
100%.
And I hate, it's not that I don't want to agree with you. I hate agreeing with you, because that outcome scares the shit out of me, which then I'll just continue to climb back into my old early water cooled, air cooled corner and just let that GT world evolve on its own.
Well, along
What's the
those
right
lines,
amount of miles? What's the right amount of miles for one of these cars? When you see one out there right
I
now
don't
with
think it's
what, 20,
miles. I think it's rock chips.
no. We're
okay,
talking
well,
about
fair
the
enough. I
modern
mean,
cars. Are we talking
yeah,
modern cars, Dave?
yeah. If
Okay.
I'm buying, I've got one coming in a month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yours is
But
perfect too. The way you
Here,
spec it's
here's what I
perfect.
think all modern Porsche, like you're getting your GT3 RS, Dave. The minute you get it, I challenge you to take a piece of electrical tape and put it over the odometer LED display and not take it off for a year. Like, you know
I've
how
had,
hard
I,
that'll be? That'll be like
well,
someone having a nicotine fit trying to, get their next fix. Like,
here's the deal. Just like you, Paul, I have plenty, and Tim and Casey as well. We all have lots of cars to drive, right? I mean, there's on any given day, I can pick from 6 or 8 different cars that are out here, air cooled, mostly air cooled stuff, but I've got a transaxle car and I've got modern cars. I've got Caymans, or excuse me, Cayennes and things, those sorts of things. Just like my 991.1 that I sold to buy this car, I'll probably, if I'm lucky, I'll put 2,500 miles a year on one of these cars,
which
right?
is
That would
which
be
is
a
a lot.
lot.
That's a
Yep,
lot
that's a
So,
for a
lot.
GT3 RS.
But
yeah,
There you
but
go.
would you take your new GT3R? Let's say there was a rally in
yep,
your neck of the woods.
yep.
That was let's say a 4-day rally that was going to put about 1,500 miles on it. And it was for, cars like yours. You could take the new GT3RS and there was a 10-mile gravel section. Would you take it on it?
As long as I had paint protection film, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got to
I
have
can
paint protection
imagine.
film. Now, come on. I mean, but you'd have to. And
I,
those
I
rallies
don't.
exist here. You know the guys probably, Paul, from GT
Yeah.
Smokies, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's an amazing rally that, candidly, one of the reasons I wanted this car was so that I could actually throw my hat into that and run with these guys at these rallies. Now, I guarantee you there's no dirt or gravel.
Well, and
But
by the way, I'm going to start signing you up for like all the Gold Rush rallies because you can now do those too.
oh, can I?
Yeah, you
Stop in Las
qualify.
Vegas
It
along the
comes with
way
the
and
jumpsuit. Comes with the
Oh, yeah.
no.
jumpsuit, Dave.
So we had
Oh
we had
gosh.
some interesting tariff conversations. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that, but really, I'll just tie it together. And Dave, this was something that you pulled out from a Radio Jones 74 with regards
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
tariffs on his. Go ahead.
He was unhappy. Obviously, he obviously does not agree. Radio Jones 74 does not agree with the current administration's tariff policy for sure. Apparently had a 2-year wait on a Boxster RS Spyder, and he passed on it because the dealer came back to him and said they wanted the extra 3.6%. And in his comments and his rant, which I certainly he's free to have, and I can't say that I'm in agreement with all of the policies that I'm seeing right now, and we're not going down that path. But he was very, very unhappy with the tariff situation, so much so that he canceled his Spyder RS order in protest, effectively, right? He wasn't going to pay the extra VIG. Now I'm paying the extra VIG on this car because it's a once in a lifetime shot to get one of these cars, right? So yeah, it's going to cost me an extra 12 grand or whatever it's going to cost me, and off we go. But I commend all these folks that are commenting. And Tim, I was going to say, like, we'll look at the comments over this next week and we'll make a pick on the best comment. And I will send them a Sunderworks t-shirt for the best comment that we get from one of our listeners, and then we'll rotate around. And Paul, you can send him a Auto Kennel shirt. And
And
Casey, if you get some shirts, and Tim,
I
we'll get
I
some
got
Full
shirts.
Throttle Talk
Hey,
shirts as
I
well
got a
coming
Porsche
up.
shirt on today. I'm trying to be on brand. But it's funny you should mention the tariff conversation. It was about 5 or 6 podcasts that I probably went too far talking about tariffs, and people thought I was being political, which I probably was. And so if you read our iTunes reviews, they're all 5 stars except for one person that literally set me ablaze for essentially being pro tariff. But I have to say this in my defense. I was pro tariff before I got tariffed on my rebuilt 4-cam motor, to which it cost me 25% of what the motor cost. And I won't tell you what that number is. It was not small. All right. So now I'm definitely not
Can
pro
I point
tariff.
out one thing to Radio Jones 74? I
Sure.
challenge you with driving a 2016 Boxster Spyder. It cost half the price of a Spyder RS, and it's a better car. I said it.
And you're not wrong, Casey. Not wrong at all.
Well, that we're talking about that when we get down to it, assuming we get to some of these more points. But that's a commonly held misbelief about Boxsters, because the 718 Spyder RS is without a doubt the most superior 718, if not modern day Porsche ever made. But let's move to the next segment.
One quick thing. There's been a number of comments and discussions on this about the Porsche Restoration Challenge.
Please.
I can speak to the rules as of 2023 because we placed second at Rennsport, so I'm very familiar. But
talk about the comments, Casey. Talk about the comments.
People were making even better than that. I've got a very good friend that won his class at Monterey, and if the listeners would be interested in hearing about that story, about their process, about what goes into it, please let me know, and I'll get them on as a guest before they show up at Luft for the finals. So if that's something that people are interested in, rather than me speaking about prior restoration challenges, the most current one, I believe, is the thing that's most important. So if people are into it, let us know in the comments, or some way DM Tim on the Full Throttle Talk Instagram, and I'd be happy to have them on so they can speak about it. But long story short, dealerships can build a car for the dealerships, or they can build a car for a client. We always built cars for the dealerships. A lot of them do. Some of them build cars for clients. So I'll leave it there. And if you guys are interested, let us know.
Yeah, I mean, but that actually is a fun topic, because I didn't realize how incredibly interesting those restoration challenges are. Like, I thought they were all said, okay, everyone's gonna do a 996, but no, these guys choose all these different cars, and it's just fun to watch the dealership. The dealerships themselves have to love doing it, because they're not having to change oil in another Cayenne, So
yeah,
it's pretty exciting.
I did it because, and that was the motivation for me leaving, selling new Porsches. I was tired of getting yelled at by people that I couldn't get GT3 RS allocations for. And I spent time converting transaxle cars into race cars. So there you go.
What I was really surprised by, and I learned this from Dave, is how much of that work is actually farmed out, but not all the dealers, like some of the dealers are hardly doing any of the work themselves.
Yeah, that's another,
yeah,
that's another topic that needs to be addressed, because the group that, I don't really want to get on this. When we lost at Rennsport, the group that beat us, a lot of the work was not done by them. And other than applying the livery to the car, which we had nobody qualified for, all of the work was done by our dealership, which was that was a big bummer that I learned after the fact.
Did you have to do upholstery work as well?
The interior was original. The only thing that I did it was a car converted to a turbo cup. So the only thing that I did was...
There's no way that the dealers are going to have that capability in-house to do any of the upholstery work. They'd have to send that out. There's no way.
Dave, I 100% agree with you, but the other things that you were explaining to me went a little above and beyond that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that might be a good topic. Let's see if the listeners tell us. All right, let's bounce to segment 3, automotive news that caught your attention. Paul.
Yes.
I am impressed that you are not talking about Porsche incessantly.
No, I'm not. And this, to me, I think is really important, because we, as car people, we complain there's not affordable, fun sports cars to drive. Obviously, the Toyota Subaru has the BRZ, and those are great. Always complain they're underpowered. The Z came out, and this is the 240Z I grew up with. My dad bought new 73 240Z. This is it in front of our driveway. It was ordered originally in white, and within a week, my dad had it painted cardinal red, because that's what you did. We didn't worry about original paint. He changed the bumpers. He did all kinds of stuff. And we haven't had an affordable sports car. So the Nissan Z comes out, not that great. Then the Nismo comes out, and I talked to Johnny Lieberman at length. He says it is a rock star on the crest. It is a fun car. It actually has performance. It's more interesting to drive than the Toyota Supra BMW weird thing. It's its own car. But the 9-speed automatic just sucked, and a lot of pressure. And literally just yesterday or the day before, the head of Nissan North America announced a 6-speed manual is coming in the Nismo edition. So this car is going to be probably around $70,000, nicely equipped. I don't think Porsche is going to have any product you can buy new for $70,000 manual. Can you guys think of any other sub $100,000 sports car new? Maybe the Lotus Emira, maybe, and that's barely, right? That's
They
right at
they said they said that they're going to continue producing the manual transmission Z4 for the US market.
right.
I
And
think
that's
that might be the only thing I can think of that
and,
might be a competitor, but honestly, I have no idea how much that
and I
costs.
think they're really lovely and the Supras are beautiful looking, but this is its own thing. And like I said, what struck me is two things. One, it is kind of it's hard to imagine $70,000 as a manual sports car is affordable new, but it is what it is. There really isn't anything else. So the fact that this exists, that maybe it'll get new buyers into driving, which will mean we will get more of them. And the fact that this is my childhood. I mean, literally, I learned to drive manual, not drive. I would shift from the right seat as my dad, put the clutch in. And a 240Z
Other
will
than that
always
one,
hold a
Paul,
soft spot.
have you owned one yourself?
I have tried to. I've sold probably half a dozen. And every time I get one, I'm like, I'm keeping this. And here's the ultimate problem. And it was really the problem with my dad. Well, when my dad bought it, he hadn't had a good German car. He had some Volvos, but not a good German car. Once you've had a German car, it's every time I
You
get one of
can't go
these,
back.
it's like an Asahi beer can. They are so tinny, rinky dink, great motor, great suspension, great styling. But and they're built well, but they're just not a German car. So the problem I always had is I'm ready to put my money down and I really like things to feel nice and be built nice. And they're just not a
I had a
German car.
73 myself, and I've always said that if I wasn't into Porsches, that would be the car I would switch to as a
Yeah.
collector piece or whatever. I mean, I think they're just great. Fantastic car. They're selling now again too. The sales on this new one have outpaced. They've doubled the sales from the prior year and generation, which is only like 3,700 cars through the first half of the
Yeah.
year, or something
I
like that.
in Southern California, where you would expect these, to be flying around like malaria, I see like one a week, and that's it. I never see them, which is sad because I think to some degree this is our one of the few hopes we get of seeing manufacturers go, oh, it's a viable idea to have a manual sports car for under $100,000. Ideally, I would love to see that number get under 50, which the Toyota Subaru product might. The problem is they're just underpowered.
Yeah,
I
two
saw
240Z was almost my first car. Went Spitfire instead. Very close.
Oh,
I'm
bad
sorry.
choice.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's not fair. You guys are bullies.
Bad choice.
Julie and I saw some of those Nismos on a open truck when we were in California last month, and they looked spectacular. Honestly, I don't know where they were shipping. They were leaving California, but they were gorgeous. And I agree with you completely, Paul. That's a special. I mean, honestly, that thing looks badass, doesn't it? It just does. And it's rear wheel drive, and it's a manual transmission. You know
Limited
what?
slip.
You know what we're not considering, Paul, and I don't know the facts on these cars, but are there any domestic cars that would compete with in that price segment? Manual
Don't make me say
transmission?
this. Don't make me say the C word.
Seriously.
Don't.
What would it be? I'm not sure.
Mustang.
It's made in,
Close. I was going to go with Monte Carlo. Do they still make that?
no, I'm
No,
trying
they
to
don't.
remember. I think it's made in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Bourbon.
Well, well, so I mean, honestly, it's the Corvette and it's the Mustang. So that's probably the buyer they're trying to, go after. But here nor there, yeah. So I like it. Dave, you had a really good automotive news that caught your attention. What was it?
I'm not sure if it's great automotive news, but I thought it was kind of interesting. And maybe this has been discussed previously, but that Porsche is going to start adding vroom vroom and gear shift noises through their electric fleet, including the Taycan for 2027. So I thought that was interesting. I've not driven, and maybe one of you guys have, an electric car that sounds like, it's engineered to be sounds like an ICE car. So I don't know if anybody has. I think Hyundai might have done something with that on
Yeah.
some of these cars, but I haven't driven a Hyundai. So um,
By the way, Tim, do you notice how Dave had to get an electric car? Like I was wondering how this episode would go if Dave could actually get something with electric car. that made any kind of expression on your face? I mean,
Honestly, I don't understand the whole electric car thing, but I'm not going to get on my rant because here's the bottom line. Why the hell don't we develop synthetic fuel? It already is in existence. They can mass produce it. It uses the existing gas stations, the existing tanks, the existing tractors, trailers, the whole damn infrastructure is already in place. And synthetic fuel made at scale would be cheaper to put in our cars, and it essentially is good for the environment as electric. And it is political, you know, honestly, the whole thing it just does, it's baffling. I don't want to talk about it. Honestly,
so doesn't one of us own a hybrid? Who here owns a hybrid in this group?
Tim or Dave?
So next topic.
I think it's Tim, because I think the Ferrari thing has an electric motor in it.
It does. Oh. And so does, our already.
So does my Volvo XC60.
Yeah. And so does, well, but so there's,
sorry, Paul.
In my defense, and yes, Casey, good observation. A hybrid, if you have to go all electric versus hybrid, I'm not sure in the future, which I'm not sure either one's going to be the one to have, mechanically speaking, but ultimately, an electric car, in my mind, doesn't make any sense. I suppose use case for it depends on the individual, but as far as where we should be going, automotively, synthetic fuels make total sense. Do you guys have any opinions on that?
No, I do.
I'm all about hybrids, personally.
Here's the thing is, we are in a similar place where we were 100 years ago. In the beginning of the 20th century, we're trying to figure out what is going to make sense. And with pushes from the oil companies and so forth, we end up with internal combustion engines. It could have easily gone electric. We were doing globally electric engines that did exist. I think we're in this really interesting place where we could go any direction. I don't know what the influence is going to be. And I think in 50 years from now, we're going to look back at this time and go, man, look at that. We had synthetic fuels. We had hybrids for power, hybrids for economy. We had diesel engines. We had so much. We looked like confused, lost souls, and they'll laugh at us. But we're just at this point where we're trying to sort out. I mean,
well, Paul, they don't even talk about synthetic fuels. It's such bullshit.
They do, because next year Formula One is switching to using synthetic fuels,
which is the baby step. But ultimately, BP, Mobil, Exxon, all these companies have to be making where their money involved, because then they'll have tanks of it, and then it'll happen just like you see E88 or whatever at some of these tanks. You'll see a synthetic fuel one. Now the problem is you and I both know the price is going to be stupid high, and you're getting there. Even no matter how much you say I believe in synthetic fuels, and you're looking at 91 octane and all these different choices, and the synthetic is an extra 50%. You're going to quietly look around, make sure no one's looking, and you're going to put the 91 octane in. But the end of the day, right now, it's ridiculous that plug-in hybrid makes sense. It does make sense. My dad's going to be buying a new car here soon, and plug-in hybrid makes sense, which I think in the long run, we're going to go, holy crap. So we have two really expensive technologies side by side in the same vehicle. So guess we get to fix an ICE engine that barely gets run, so it breaks down. Oh, and then we're going to have this massive heavy battery. I mean, plug-in hybrid makes a lot of sense for users today, but in the long run, it just seems like the stupidest idea.
I agree.
Lease it.
Yeah, exactly.
I always told people that bought electric cars and hybrids, always lease.
Absolutely.
It's like holding a cell phone. My iPhone 14 or whatever barely works anymore. It's 3 years old.
Did you guys see the latest Jay Leno video where they're in the new model Plaid S with like 1,200 horsepower or whatever? Did you guys watch that?
Was Dempsey the passenger or no?
No. This one came out yesterday. Anyway, my only takeaway from that is when they went out to test drive it, and it's like you heard all the wind noise and the tire noise, and they're talking about how it's a performance car and a supercar, and I'm just I clicked off. This is too freaking boring. I mean, I'm out. Sorry. There you go.
Paul, does Matt Farah still have his Taycan?
Yeah, and it was part of an experiment. He was figured away. And by the way, my dad's seriously looking at a Taycan because it fits his lifestyle, and I'm all for it. But
if you can get a Porsche warranty on that damn thing, and
yep,
it's a used car and it's already depreciated, and those things drop like a rock,
yeah.
100%. That makes sense to me. I'm just saying from a, a nerd's perspective, I
Oh
just
yeah.
don't get it.
I mean, the hard part is talking my dad out of, he agrees with you, Casey. If you're going to get an electric car, lease it. And I said, okay, yes, but look at Matt Farah's example. He figured out a way to buy it on the cheap. So if that thing's worth half in 5 years, he's only lost like 25 grand, which go
So
try to own a car for 25 grand over 5 years with and Tim, you're absolutely right. You got to get the longest runway of warranty you possibly can.
Think
I'll give
about
you a
the
cheat code, and I was something I was going to email Matt, but I didn't. You can lease a late model used Porsche, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
The residual value is based on the MSRP of the vehicle. So let's say that the car had $140,000 original MSRP, and the residual value, and you're buying the car for 65 grand, let's say. Let's say the car had a residual value of, Porsche will put it in money, like in actual dollars on a used car. It's not based on percentage. But let's say at the end of it, Porsche thinks it's worth 45 grand. So you can lease a car with the cost of funds and the spread of $20,000 over 36 months with whatever Porsche's high cost of funds is. But you could probably get in a really nice Taycan for, I remember at the end of last year, they were doing it. You could get a Taycan Turbo for something like $800 or $900 a month. I mean, that's a huge amount of car for effectively what you would be, getting a monthly payment for a minivan.
Yep.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
here's
that's
a
covered by
suggestion.
Porsche warranty too.
Here's a suggestion to your dad. Golf R.
There's no way. So, I mean, and it's hard when to understand, but you've been here before, but you live on an island, literally. And then you go to a place that has no traffic. His driving now is twice a week, drives from Santa Monica to Orange County, which is 35 miles. That's the way the rest of the country speaks in miles. In us, we speak an hour and 5 minutes to 2 hours and 10 minutes. That is
35
just,
miles.
we speak distance in relative versions of time. And he's 82 years old. If you're in a certain vehicle like electric or certain plugins, you can drive the HOV lane, which is huge, huge, not just time savings, but just like the mental dealing with the grind of traffic. And also with these modern cars, they really help with accident avoidance and I mean, he's got to get something 2022 or newer because he's 82, and it's kind of, I feel better and safer knowing when he's coming to the shop, he has a higher chance of getting there and not rear-ending someone in this weird accordion traffic where you go 80 miles an hour to 10 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour to 5 miles an hour, and it's just gnarly. So for his case, it makes perfect sense. Me, I live 2 miles away. I wouldn't do it.
You better check your precepts on the whole access to the carpool. In Leno's video, he actually, I think the new law says that that's no longer applies to electric cars. So you might want to check that.
Yeah, that's good. And if it does, and okay, so if the carpool lane is out, this is going to reset everything. And my guess is he's going to look seriously at a Macan GTS used. That would be his next choice. If the only reason he's doing electric or plug-in is that's going to have the HOV benefit. And if that's out, then a whole new game. But a Golf R ain't happening.
Shall we
He
skip the
might, he
question?
might
Shall we
need
skip?
something to keep him awake.
There's
Well,
nothing that keeps him
I saw him
awake.
on your trip. Yeah.
There's sadly, there's nothing that keeps him awake.
A lumpy lump
I mean,
cam V8.
I know
That
Matt
chop.
Farah wouldn't agree, but wouldn't a Tesla make the most sense? But you guys can
Well, he
debate
has
that.
one right now. He has a Model
Okay.
S, which he hates because my mom thought she wanted one, had it for a month. I told her it was the wrong car. She can't, and she ends up getting a new Mercedes plug-in hybrid, and he has the lease to run out, which he's got like 5, 6 months left on the lease. So, and a really good friend of ours has a beautiful 5-year-old Range Rover he's considering because he's always liked those. So a lot of choices. He's just literally waiting for this stupid Tesla Model S lease to finish out.
So let's skip the Leno's Law thing because that's going to meander into politics, and unless you want to get some hate in the Instagram comments, it's on you, Dave. Casey, do you want to skip the next point? Because I think you already talked about some of these things, so we can get to segment 4. It's up to you.
Uh, I only wanted to point out one quick thing. Petrolicious, who that I love, it's a YouTube channel, put out a great video with I'll put the picture up in the background. It's called Nod to Gamund, but basically it's a story about I guess it's Rod Emery's son-in-law that does body
Yeah.
work for him, and
Oh,
he's
Yep.
golly, he looks like low 20s. Um, and he made this amazing car, and I don't have much to say about it, but it was a great video, very motivational for the younger generation, and everybody should watch it. So check that out on the
Yep.
Petrolicious
And
YouTube channel.
Awesome.
yeah, and it was a really good video. And I know Rod well. I know his son-in-law married his daughter recently. And what's really cool about this video is as soon as he was sort of done, and this is such a 20-year-old something thing to do. You know, when your car's kind of done, but you just can't wait. So you start doing things with it, and it becomes this rolling restoration where it's like getting, so I think I got finished a few years ago, and I would see like at one Cars and Coffee, and each event you could see the car getting the last 10% done. And it is spectacular, and there's some really interesting things about the engine that I think people should watch that I didn't know that are really
Yeah,
cool. Good video.
killer video. Really recommend it.
Segment four, and this was Casey's suggestion, which is, I think, a great topic. What three modern Porsches, 1999 and newer, would you buy with $500,000 total? And since, Casey, this was your concept from the last show, you get to go first.
So I love 997s. First car, first and foremost. The car, picture behind me, I took at Laguna Seca in 2008. I think it's 2000. Yeah, I think it was 2008. Those are the Flying Lizard RSRs back then. 45 was my favorite. I've got a model of it behind me on my shelf, but piloted by
Yep.
Bergmeister and Hensler. To me, that's peak RSR. I don't think there's anything better than it. Rexy comes very close, but to me, that car and the Penske RS Spyder always go together. Unfortunately, I can't afford a 997 RSR with our $500,000 budget. So, car one for me would be a 997.1 RS. Don't care what color it is. Low owners, relatively low miles. I figured that car all day long is 300 grand. Car number two, which I mentioned earlier, Boxster Spyder 2016. That is by far the best year for that car. Manual transmission, bucket seats, ceramic brakes, and it has to be in white. Figure that's around 120. And for the tow vehicle, when one of those cars breaks, I would do an '09 Cayenne Transsyberia in black with orange wheels. In period, I sold a gray one with black graphics to a guy that had a reverse pumpkin 997 GT3 RS. But to me, black with orange graphics is the way to go. And I figured I've got about 20 grand to pay for, whatever I need to do. But I think to me, that's the probably peak. I would do one honorable mention. I used to do some marketing work for TPC Racing, and in period, I sold Mike, the owner of TPC, an 11 Boxster Spyder. He put a 3.8 liter X51 in it from a 997 GTS, and that car was about perfect. But I do like the 16, I think, better than that, so that's the way I went.
I am not surprised. Casey did such a phenomenal job of picking three cars, and I definitely am not looking forward to going last because that's what I signed myself up for. Do you guys have any comments on those three cars?
all good
Um,
choices.
no, they're great choices. And in fact, Casey's
Other than the
choice,
997.
first of all, like we originally remember, we argued about the value. I wanted to do 300,000 because I am inherently cheap, and I think the fun can be had for less. I still think this could have been done for 300, and I actually had to change my choice to get to 500. I underspent, but his Trans Siberia was definitely the inspiration, which I think is really a great choice. Which is one of those, the weirdest thing about that car, and they had some weird things, and no one gave two shits about them for the longest time, is they're badged on the back. I believe it says Cayenne S, correct? On the
Yes.
tail, but it's a GTS, and I never understood why Porsche did that. So think about it. On the back, it says it's Trans Siberia. The only way you know it's Trans Siberia is if you have the little stickers on the side, which you may or may not have ordered. And then the back says Cayenne S, but
So
it
I
is
think it's
literally a
be
GTS.
but I think if you look at the picture behind me, for those that are on YouTube, the body work is all S. So
So, but
it has a G.
why didn't they badge it as GTS or have the badge say Cayenne Trans-Siberia, which don't tell me it's too long.
It
They have
should have
like
just
alphabet.
said Cayenne Trans-Siberia, but I think S is just, I mean, basically the GTS portion of it, if I believe, was only the engine. I
That's
don't,
the best
yeah, so
part.
I hear you, but I think that being the fact that when they campaigned it, it was called a Cayenne S Trans-Siberia when it actually, when Zwart and all those guys ran them through outer Mongolia. So I think they were kind of sticking with that. I don't know if it was a homologation thing. They needed to sell X amount in order to compete in that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, I do love them, and it did force me to deal with a $500,000 limit, not 300,000, and change my, one of my cars, which
Well,
killed me.
you want to go next?
Sure.
Go ahead, Paul.
All right. Super easy. First car, 996.2 GT3, just like the one I own. I know it's boring, but in my thought, that is the only GT3 to own. Anything newer has come close, but not close enough. I would say the next thing is a 991.2 Carrera T with the right color options. Super hard to find. This one was pretty tasty. Lava orange, ceramic brakes. The only thing I hated about it, I mean, check out the interior, yellow accents, yellow
Needs
belts,
the
yellow
stripes
things.
on the seats.
And because he ordered the stupid torture buckets, which there's two bad decisions on this car. One, the torture buckets would have been better with the regular stock seats with the cool graphics, and they ordered the glass roof. I don't mind the regular sunroof because the roof's painted. And by the way, the weight savings between no sunroof and just the regular metal sunroof is nominal. It's nominal. I basically, and then the third choice. So my third choice, if we're playing the $300,000 game, I pulled a picture from it, was a 997 Carrera 4S manual Targa in Nordic gold, which is such a cool car. And they made so few of them. And that would be my cruiser. But ultimately, I went with not the Trans-Siberian, which is a lovely car and it will do gravel and those things. But if I really, I put all my budget. Oh, first of all, 996.2 GT3. That's, let's just say, $125,000, depending on color and miles and all the other crap. This car, if you want to get a really good Carrera T in a great color, 125. And then you get to this, which is a Emotion by Joey Seeley. All right, Dave, you're gonna get moist over this.
That
I'm
thing's
feeling the
awesome.
moisture
Base,
already, Paul. The moisture is here.
A Cayenne diesel based Emotion overlanding beast. And I've known Joey for over a decade. And what's bitching about this car is, I mean, we're talking by the time you buy the Cayenne diesel, give it to Joey and just basically, give him your 80, your bank account number. This is going to be $250,000 by the time you're done. But I would say all the other overlanding stuff, including the Trans-Siberian, is a little bit of a mall poser. And this thing, I've seen them in person. They look beautiful inside. They don't look like the actual Trans-Siberian race, Cayenne. I don't know if I got a picture of the inside. I couldn't find one, but they are really nice and they drive fantastic and they will frickin' go anywhere. The whole bottom's heavy gauge steel. It can slide over stuff. So anyway, there's my
Plus, the
three cars.
torque on those diesel engines is unbelievable. I mean,
It's a
you put a
great,
tune
great.
on that thing, and I know I've talked about this before, but the right one, sometimes you get a little bit of turbo lag, but I've got a tune on my 13 and it is a rocket ship, man.
Yep.
It get going. Those are great cars. Those are
And
really great cars.
and what is cool about Joey Seeley, and I'm surprised he did this, but I think he figured it made sense because initially, if you wanted any of these goodies, they were like Rod Emery. You had to buy the car to get the engine, whatever. He's finally realizing you can buy parts. So you can't make, there is some secret sauce to buying a true emotion engineered Cayenne Overland vehicle, but now you can buy some of his like underplating and some of the other skid plates and whatever. So Yeah, there it is.
Well,
And that comes right at 500.
So do you guys like his selections? Do you guys have any criticism for his three selections? Because personally, I'm not really understanding the two 911s, but what do you guys think? And Paul, you don't defend yourself quite yet, because these guys are probably just going to agree with you.
Yep. Go ahead.
Well, I understand the GT3, the 996 GT3, but that's because you own it, you love it, you get it. Um, wouldn't be my choice per se. I do like the T. That's a great car, and that pano sunroof. For whatever reason, I really dislike that 991 with that pano sunroof. I just think it breaks up the color on the top. And depending on the color of the car, I think it really does look stunning. I've seen guys put vinyl on the top of those cars just to give it that black look.
People don't realize there's three options. You have the glass panorama roof, which is this one has, which is heavy. It's going to be expensive repair down the road. You have no sunroof, which everyone goes, ooh, that's the best one, which isn't bad. And then you have the regular sunroof, which is the same panel. And the only thing bad about it is when you have it open, which is usually driving, it looks like, baseball hats about to come off the car. It looks so dorky. But the weight difference between no sunroof and just the regular painted sunroof that just flips up over the top like a baseball lid is nominal weight difference. And it is nice once in a while to open up because you want to hear that cool engine. So I'm open either way. I agree. I hate the glass roof from mainly just cosmetics. It looks stupid.
Oh, I love it. I'm sorry, we don't agree. I love the glass roof.
Good. Finally, Casey, what do you think about his three selections?
I'm a big Joey Seeley fan. I was going to get a Macan a couple of years ago and actually reached out to him about the wheel and tire setup, but it unfortunately didn't go through. But I love what he does. I've followed along since I guess he split off from BBI a bunch of years ago. My favorite second gen 991, that's not a speedster, is the Carrera T. I sold a bunch of them when they were new. My favorite spec was always GT silver, traditional wheels, graphics, with the striped seats on the inside, slick top, manual, just awesome car. Yeah, I'm fully there with you, Paul, on that one. I'm a slick top guy on 911s. I don't like sunroofs.
So you're agreeing, you think those are good. All right, so let's move on.
I think it's great.
I just want to defend the reason I put this in there, not because I already own it.
No, it's awesome. How about
It
that?
is
Great car.
awesome in the sense, but it is the only water-cooled Porsche, because that was the rule, 99 and newer, the only modern Porsche that I could figure drives the most like a vintage air-cooled.
100%.
Good
And
point.
what's the 996 GT3, if you guys have never driven one, don't just believe the internet about, the aesthetic and all the rest of it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, maybe you like the more curvaceous shape. It doesn't really matter. Go drive one, because that car only has ABS. It has no traction control, which you wouldn't think sounds that cool, but it actually is. The experience is just like Paul said. It does feel like driving, not even a 993, not even a 964.
No.
That car, when I had ours, it felt like you were driving like a G body or even something older. It's so freaking intoxicating.
There's these cars that drive so similar. This 964 RS, it's shockingly similar in the rawness.
Yep.
88, 89 Club Sport, not our poser US one, but the true Euro one. And then I posted something of my old 73 RS clone, a 2.7 MFI motor. It just has this Porsche secret sauce.
So that's another one, frankly, for that in that price range that doesn't make sense to me as far as the price differential between a GT3 of a 996 generation and the newer ones. It seems to me that there's going to be some meat on the bone on that one for anyone that's price sensitive in terms of like maybe making some money on a car. Yeah. Dave, you are up next. 3 cars, total of 500,000. I read your answers and I think you did a great job. What do you got?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm already pre-set up as the winner then. So obviously, how could I not pick a
I haven't gone yet.
Well, fair enough. Okay. And he who controls the last spot probably controls the win. But the 2025 GT3 RS, how could I not pick that since I've just ordered one? Right. So there's my spec on my particular GT3 RS. Roughly going to come in around 310, 320, I think, the way that one's spec'd with Wysock package, front lift. It does have the torture seats, but if I didn't get the torture seats, then I'd be hurt on the value. I have an upholstery shop. I'll fix the torture seats, Paul. I've got, bolster things I can put in there. I've got blow up lumbar supports. I can do all that kind of stuff. So the torture seats didn't scare me really. So that's car number one, about 310. That's kind of the way I kind of played it. But you can get one of these cars for, if you don't option it up, for 270 grand.
Can you
Okay.
really? Hold on.
Yeah, you can.
get,
I mean, the base price on a GT3, an RS, is 241 or 245 now, I think. And if you don't put YSOC package on it, the first one, you remember the story about the first one that I almost had? I think the sticker on it was only 271. So
well,
it was
it's
not a
worth,
highly optioned car.
Dave, I know you're bummed about, just not to jump on you here, but I know you're bummed about the tariffs. But the reality of it is, even at 310, even before sales tax, which I assume what you're talking about here, you're still ahead of the market on that. So you're right as
Oh
rain.
yeah,
That's a
no,
free
no,
car.
I didn't even blink about it when he told me about the 3.6. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't really a question. It's just the way it is, right?
So
Car
car
number
number
two,
two, yeah.
Car number two, and this is a car where I probably should have gone with Casey's pick, actually, because it would have been nice to have a drop top, I guess, as part of the three here. But a 2016 GT4, probably wouldn't pick white, honestly, but this was the picture I could grab quickly. This is a fantastic car. I mean, and I will have to say, I mean, stupidly, I had one and let it go. I had one last year and sold it to a friend. But this is probably one of the best driving Porsches in a reasonable price range that you can lay your hands on. This thing is just a fantastic car. Wonderful, wonderful. Mine did
It's
have torture buckets.
If for those of who are just listening, let me say what it is. It's a 2016 GT4,
Yep.
and those cars obviously you can get in manual transmissions, which you can't do on the
They
new
only
RS
they
cars.
only came in manual.
Yep.
That's it.
Oh,
Yep. It's certainly in the 16 they did for sure. I think
have
it's
you
a
guys
great looking car.
have you guys all
Just
driven
great.
one of those? Have you guys
Yes.
all driven? Okay,
I've
I've
sold
driven-
a dozen of them. Yeah.
Casey, what did you think of the gearing? The sort of the shadow over that car's long gearing. What did you think
I
of
think
it?
a lot of it's blown out of proportion. I think people need something to complain about, or an otherwise really fantastic car.
Yep, that
I agree.
summarizes it.
I agree. I drove a GT4 over the entire Angeles Crest on our compounds with the light dusting of snow. And my only complaint about it, which is why I like the 996 GT3, is the car was so capable, you had to go so fast to kind of get emotion that you're like, holy cow, I'm going too fast.
Back
And
to your fear
that's,
of death issue, right, Paul?
yeah,
You
you
have
get
to
fear
have
of
the
death.
fear
And
of
this
death
is,
in there in order to
yeah, that's 2016. There's another decade of new fear of death things that are faster. But I would say the Spyder is the better version. And I still think, is the Spyders, are they less money than the GT4s? Are
More.
they?
right about the same.
I threw a dumb number out for mine because I would want to find the nicest, cleanest one in existence to kind of like make it so that I could own it like it was a new car at that point.
But I think GT4 is like a nice driver. GT4 is right around 85 to 95. I feel like the Spyder's the same because the 718 Spyder prices you can get for a nice driver in the 115 range. And that's going to always, I think they're so new that people go, well, I'll get the newer one versus the 16. Because also, like you said, Tim, they're like, well, I'm going to have to go spend 5, 10 grand on the transmission, which is total bullshit,
It is total
Yes.
bullshit. Just basically rev the crap out of it in first and second gear, and don't worry about it. So
or learn to be a better driver.
you're right.
Okay.
Your third car, Dave. There you go.
Here's my third car. This is a used 2023 CPO. I mean, that's the way you'd want to get it. And with the price on this is a GTS Macan. I
Did that
think
come
this
in a
car,
diesel?
no, it doesn't come in a diesel. Sorry, Paul. But I have owned a Macan S. I've owned two of those, and I think the S is a fantastic car. I mean, it's a great car to start with, but the GTS, and I've only test driven one of these. I've never owned one, but there's a lot. I mean, I think that's another, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 horsepower. I want to say it's in the high threes or mid threes, perhaps horsepower wise. Great car. Great looking car, super practical, the ultimate grocery getter as far as I'm concerned. This car, just the minute you start it, the noises it makes, it is just a wonderful SUV. And I think Porsche did an outstanding job on this car. It doesn't get better as these cars get newer, is my point. I don't like the styling on the newer ones. The EV just doesn't speak to me at all. But this one right here, this is kind of peak Macan for me. And that kind of, I've got that at about 80 grand down from 130, which is what it would cost you to buy a new one. So that's good depreciation, 435 horsepower. I misspoke. And that to me is just a great all around car.
He mentioned depreciation. Do you guys realize pretty much all of your selections so far are pretty much depreciation proof at this point? So you might, I mean, I'm looking at the list of what you guys, the three of you came up with, and I don't really see that there's any of these cars that have a big drop. Well, so didn't one of you choose something stupid that's because it's electric? Oh, that's probably Paul. Okay. All right. So
no, mine are, mine are.
I agree. Dave's picks were great. My favorite Macan, and I remember going to the launch of that car. My favorite one was a 2018 turbo. So 3.6 liter. So it's a 3 liter with a longer stroke. And that was the one where the turbos hung off the side of the engine. It wasn't a hot V motor. That came from Audi. But yeah, Macans are great. Absolutely love them.
100%. So would you guys choose a Macan over a new Golf R with the RS3 motor in it?
No.
Ooh. You know, here's the funny thing is, I have never driven a Macan, ever.
They're great cars, man.
And the reason I know they're loved cars is how long have they been out now? Almost a decade. Macans as a vehicle.
2015.
Yeah. So they've been out for a decade. I get people offering me Cayennes to resell and so forth, and I've sold Cayennes. Panameras, same thing. I have never had anyone give me a Macan to sell, which means they love them. The dealers know that they can move them. The dealers offer them too much money and they trade them in for something new.
That's interesting.
Part of the reason we're going to most likely, unless Porsche or someone gives us a newer one, is why I really want to experience a Macan in this rally, because I want to drive one.
All right. So my three choices for 500 grand, and you guys can have fun trying to rip me up, but I'm pretty sure I already won. You guys can read my notes. I took my victory lap yesterday and I was coming up with these. 997.2 GT3 RS for around 250.
Wait,
is this like when Dave picked a Turbo S and said it cost 250?
Yeah.
See, the problem is,
no. You're being rude. A 996 GT2 for around 210 grand. And a 987 Cayman R, which I'm surprised none of you guys mentioned, which I couldn't find one for 50 grand, but let's just say 50 grand just to make my math work. So you guys are just going to say no bueno because you don't agree? Go ahead.
First of all, you're going to have to run backwards and unwind that victory lap, because there's so many problems. No, not problems with the car. There's only one problem I have with the car, is the Cayman R. And I, like you, wanted a Cayman R, Peridot green, the whole deal. And being follically challenged, I don't give a crap about an open car. However, and Johan van Overbeek proved this on a great video, the Spyder, the 987.2 Spyder just drives better. And so, and then the pricing, a Cayman R. Here's the thing is, you like nice cars. You like low miles, Tim. You like the right color. You like pretty. 50 grand is going to get you the most hoopty piece of shit Cayman R, if you could even find one with so many dings on Carfax.
It would probably be it would be an automatic too at 50 grand.
Oh, it would be a rebuilt title.
Yes,
it would be a PDK.
Paul, didn't you correctly call me out on my own bullshit last week when you said I'm trying to be more urban? I believe you did.
Okay, so this is a good attempt at urban, but you're not going to get that. There's a part of you that can't. So what you did right. 996 GT2, undervalued car,
for
still
sure.
A great car. I really wanted one until I drove one, and I knew the same reason I don't drive motorcycles is it'll be a matter of time before I die in a 996 GT2, because those truly, truly, truly are. I don't care what people say, ooh, this is the widowmaker. That is the car that kills you, and get a good life insurance policy. And you got the number right. 210 will buy you a boring black car, and that's about right. Like Casey said, 997.2 GT3 RS. I mean, you're you need 50
100,
grand for that.
I was going to say you can get a
Well,
hoopty
you
for
could get like
a boring one or
I
one with
sold
50
a,
owners.
I am doing the Google right now, and if you guys were to take the time and step aside from your overt criticism just because you guys are all bullies, the reality of it is there are some for sale that are in that price range, and you guys need to maybe expand your horizons.
no,
Look
I
at the
agree there
Carfax
is, but
report.
not the car you're gonna buy for you.
I
That's
didn't.
why on mine, I put the best one that I could find.
Yeah, I put ones that I would want to own. Yeah, and there's quite a few listed. What is
Okay, here's just for example, Mr. Kramer, a 2016, my first one that came up, a 2016
Wait,
911 GT3 RS.
991.
no,
That's
no,
a
no, no. That's
16.
a
That's a
991.
991.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's going to be
Yeah.
in your price range.
Yeah,
No, no.
that 250 is too much for that car.
I mean,
All right, fine. Good point. I have to search again.
Search
but
10 to
oh
11.
Tim, change your thing. A 991.1 GT3 RS,
Great car.
phenomenal choice, and I
Yep.
agree with that. Your only thing is that's only PDK, which by the way, that car should only be PDK. It makes sense for that car. So I will I won't give you a victory lap, but you'll save grace if you change that 997.2 to a 991.1. And then
16.
Yeah, the
yeah.
16s drive better than the 19s too.
Oh,
Yeah.
just like me to be caught on a podcast with a bunch of used car dealers.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Fine. I thought I won. I clearly did not. You guys are okay. So you guys want to do one more segment or do you want to call it a day? It's up to you.
I think we call it a day because the last segment is it the segment the segment
Yeah,
we
it's going to be a
oh
lot.
no, the auction segment. I'll talk about the
Oh,
auction. I did enough
okay.
freaking work for that. Let's
Segment 5. Oh, we're never going to get to segment 6, which is the wings.
perfect. That's
Oh.
fine. We'll move
All
on.
right, segment 5. You guys, Paul, I'm more worried about you because of your, medical situation. So are you good?
I'm good. I'm good. Jugs are still cruising along.
Okay,
So I'm
good.
scratching an itch a few minutes ago for those of you watching on YouTube. He had to readjust himself.
Yeah, well, he did that last week and then he disappeared for 5 minutes. He came back taking his victory lap, having gone to the bathroom successfully in his harness. See that one? Right. So I'm just trying to be more sensitive. All right, segment 5. This week in auctions. What are your top 2 follows and or sales and why? And I thought I had to update mine because I know we didn't get to this last week, but I thought it was a lot of fun. So who do I want to have go first? Let's see. I'm gonna let Dave go first. Go ahead, Dave. Your great
right.
job.
I just followed this car and thought it was quite an amazing outcome here on this particular car. Obviously, this is a 2024 911 GT3 RS with Wysock package, but I thought the color combination was really unusual and not one that I would ever personally think to spec. But this is in Viola purple, which is clearly a paint to sample color, with the blue wheels and the blue vinyl on the side. And this car sold for roughly 425, 20, 28, including the fees. But I thought as a combination of colors, it really worked well. Obviously, as a GT3 RS, it's going to bring the money, but I do think the color popped this value up a bit. That's my personal opinion on this.
And Dave, you said it's a Wysock package?
It is, yep.
And does it have painted roof, painted hood?
Nope, you can see if the picture, let's see if that shows up any better. No, it's got the carbon hood. I think it works on this car. That color combination is just so interesting. I'm not a fan. I would like it if that GT vinyl matched the color of
Yeah,
those wheels a little bit
I'd
better.
skip the graphics on the side, but the wheels look
Yeah.
the violet purple with the blue wheels looks nice.
Yeah, I
Isn't that
agree.
interesting though? Because I would never think to spec that car that way. It's
With
just
yellow
really,
calipers. Are you guys
oh, the
on
yellow
crack or
calipers you're
something?
going to
What the
get.
hell?
You got to spend
You know
an
how
extra
good this will
10
look
grand
in
if you want
Monterey
those in
next year?
black.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's where that car is going. It's going to be doing a rev off someplace in Monterey, pissing the cops off. I mean, one of the 150 people that got arrested. That's where that car is going. That's my opinion, though. But the color's
All right,
pretty.
here's my second one. This car is a 2000, excuse me, it's a 1980. I'm going to go back to my own notes here. Hang on one second, guys. This was a Canadian car, which I think is what really held it back. It's an 80 911 Targa out of Canada. I love this color. It's basically just called medium blue metallic. And that was a common color early 80s. this car, if I had more pictures, you'd see it looked like a really nicely sorted car. It's got a navy blue interior. The cookie cutters probably hold it back, but that's an easy
No, the
fix.
cookie cutters are awesome.
Yeah, but most people run away from them, Paul. You know that. You know it holds
I
back
normally
value. You
agree
wouldn't.
with Paul. I'm not agreeing with Paul today.
I actually
Yeah,
agree with Paul, and I'm sorry for that. I think the cookie cutters are awesome because you never see them.
And
well,
what that one has is 7-inch cookie cutters in the rear, insanely hard to find. And when you put the right stance and rubber and better photos, they look actually really cool.
And make the
I think
door
this guy got
match the
blown
rest
up.
of
He
the
got
fender.
the reason why he didn't do well. This car only did 33K, and I thought that that's great money. I think people got scared of the import from Canada,
Well,
and
they
I'm not
should.
sure.
No, I mean that's a
Yeah, well,
hassle.
I
It
don't know.
just
It's not
is.
that expensive to import
No,
one. It
it's
really isn't.
what is the tariff to bring? I mean, it used to be like 3%. What is it now to bring a car in from
That
Canada?
car's
10?
old.
10, 8 or 10. What was it? What
Even
did it go
even
up
with
to?
an old car, even with a car older than
No,
35 years.
No
25
idea.
years or older. Yeah, 25 years or older, you got no problems.
Yeah,
Let's
but
not talk
this
tariffs.
car went for 33K. I mean, it's a
That's
great looking.
that's very cheap.
That
But
was
let
It's
me
an
ask you
super
guys
SC.
cheap.
It's an SC or a mid-year? Sorry.
SC,
No,
SC.
it's an
Okay,
SC.
that's
Yeah,
a great
SC.
car.
That's super cheap.
Let me ask you guys a question, a layman's perspective, okay? If you have a car up in Canada, because you're right, even the modern stuff, if it's in Canada and they're trying to sell to a U.S. buyer, it oftentimes they don't sell. They don't even meet reserve. Why, if you're in Canada and you're listening to us, maybe consider consigning your car with Casey or with Paul or with Dave and getting it, frankly, down to the United States because that's where your buyer's going to be.
Yep.
Yeah, you
I
have
would
to
do
get it
that.
here. You have to
Yeah.
get it here,
It's
Tim,
but
you're
confused
not
people for sure.
Yeah,
people are
Tim and
afraid
Casey,
of
you're not
Canadian.
wrong.
Sorry.
You have to get it here. Even if it has a Canadian title, get it here because right now, especially with the tariff talk, I think there's just a lot of confusion. I mean, look, we have ambiguity. We don't know what it is to bring here. We knew, a year ago. So imagine the naivety of the buyer. So if it's here and it's in a US, state and it's being sold here where it's already here, a dealer's gonna title it for you. I think you have a much, much better shot.
But Paul, it's not even a difference between much better shot of selling it. It's a much better increase in your net profit, even after paying your guys' 10% VIG. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no,
And paying the transport there. You're absolutely right, Tim. I would say, let's just say 10%, and then let's say another 5% for all the transportations and whatever to get here. I think at the end of the day, you'll double that in
This
sales.
car
If
should
it's
have
a good
Especially
car.
been. This car should have been high 50s, probably is my
there you
guess.
go.
Yep.
That's
But
that's it.
the thing
That's
about
what I would have
Canadian
been retailing this car at. Would have been high 50s. It's a good looking car. It was really nice.
Canadian cars, from my experience, even though like in a modern Porsche, like the only difference between a Canadian car and a US car is the US cars get the first maintenance for free. Canadian cars don't. That's really the only difference in between cars. Depending on the year, sometimes when you bring them in, they have to pull the instrument clusters apart to pull off the kilometers per hour and put on miles per hour. But Canadian cars always sell for less if it's started as a Canadian car because it gives somebody the reason, it
To
gives them an
negotiate.
excuse to not buy it because they're like, oh, it's like an IMS in a 997 versus a second gen. You take away reasons to not buy the car. To me, it's the same car. It doesn't really make a difference, but they're always worth less.
Casey, let's jump to your two cars that you've been watching, and I see one of them behind you. If you guys are not watching on YouTube, we do have the ability. Thank you, Paul, for figuring it out to put pictures up. But yes, so this first car, I have to say, I was watching this one too. An absolutely gorgeous little car. Casey,
So I love early 911s. I will be honest with you and let you know that I've never driven a short wheelbase 911, but like early cars, like, well, not early cars, but like 70 to 73. I really love MFI cars. The car behind me is a 1973 911T Coupe. To me, it's a little bit of a boring car. I think it's technically a 73 and a half because
yep.
this car has CIS, but they marketed it as a 73. But the kicker with this car is it's leaf green. Leaf green is, I believe, one of the most beautiful colors ever produced by Porsche. It's not available in paint to sample, and honestly, it's super rare. I've only ever seen one leaf green car in person, and that was at Checked It Out like 2 years ago on a similar era. Actually, I think it was a little bit earlier, 912. It's an awesome car. This car, even though that it's a CIS car and it's kind of boring, just very good restoration. It's very pretty, but this car sold for 130 plus fees. That's a huge number on a 973 911. It's not a huge number,
No, it's
Paul.
when I saw this thing pop up, I sold 2 years ago a 73 and a half CIST leaf green, 80,000 original miles, original paint, about a little bit nicer than this one. And I sold it for way over 130. I've sold an
Wow.
aubergine T that was a CIST for 150. I mean, it goes back to that car was a really nice, what I'd call high level survivor driver. Really clean in a great color, which most people forget. Leaf green was not loved. By the way, leaf green, all-time favorite Porsche color. That's I would PTS in leaf green. It's the best color in my opinion. But in the end of the day, people will pay such huge numbers for a dry, honest leaf, great color, rare like leaf green. Because what also happened, and they were so unpopular, most of them didn't get out of the 80s without being turned into red on tan and some trashy color. And
930
so,
turbos.
Totally,
yeah, so
totally.
that car, that car was very nice. It's gonna need, I think, a couple little mechanical things, but all in all, rare color, 130. Yeah, that was right on the money.
So his next car, you
Interesting.
ready? Do you
Okay.
have the picture, Casey? The
So
next
I
car.
so this is so I remember before I put it up, I went to a when I worked at the Porsche dealership in the summer of fall of 2004. I went to a Concours where they let me drive the 997S launch car. And the car I fell in love with there was this. This is a sepia brown 70S. Um, I think back in the day, I mean, this is another one of those instances where all of these cars got painted a different color. This one, I'm certain, was restored. I think 911R sold this car. The representation was very good, but sepia never sticks around. To me, I think and if somebody offered me a really interesting 70 to 73 911 in an interesting color to trade for my 964 plus money, I'm pretty sure I'd do it in a heartbeat because I really love that era of car. I don't believe that there is better steering than what you get in one of these early 911s, and I really think that that's super important in the driving experience. But this Sepia 70S sold for 208 plus fees. And being that I completely boffed on what I thought the market was on early 70s 911s, Paul or Dave, what do you believe this car? Do you think this car sold well, or do you think this
It
was cheap?
No, it's sold right on the money. And in fact,
Mhm.
if this was leaf green, we're talking now close
350?
to 300
Yeah,
because what people don't realize, long hoods have been flat for a while. And I think they're the good, solid air cooled, early air cooled. That's the air cooled buy. The sad thing is, I think their big up in the future is somewhat limited. But and Tim, air cooled buyer. Now, the guys in the room who are buying early long hood air cooled cars, especially in multiple six figures, they're seasoned vets. There's no speculators left. So when you look at this car was really good. It
It
was
was.
really, I mean, Dave, the shut lines.
Oh, this car is beautiful.
It was
Gorgeous,
such a good
gorgeous.
car, and what's cool is if you look at the end of the history, it sold on BAT or bid in 19 for 156, and it looked kind of crappy presentation, but that just shows you the market. It bid to that. Didn't hasn't really had the big change. I was surprised at Solfus just because there's so many people that hate sepia, and I absolutely love sepia because when you see it look like this, it just looks so right. And by the way, everyone who calls me and goes, "Oh, I want a 72, 73S, because it's a 2.4." They need to walk away from bring a trailer because the 7071S is the real S. That is the best long hood outside of the 73 RS that Porsche made. Because what people don't realize is in 72, the world emission laws hit and everyone was kind of screwed in last minute what to do. So Porsche's solution was they bumped to a 2.4 from the 7071 that were 2.2 because they had the lower compression. So if you just magically drove a 70, 71S and a 70, 72, 72, 73S back to back, let's just say magically they were identical conditions, so they drove the same. Your butt dyno would say the 71S or 70S was faster, for sure.
All right, so
So
between his leaf green for 130 or this one for, what was it again, Casey?
208
plus fees.
208. I mean, if you had to choose between the two, Paul, given what you know
so
about these cars, what would you choose?
the the leaf green is tugging at my shoulder, but because it's my favorite color. But you know what? I like to drive.
I
I'm
love
I'm sorry,
MFI,
the
man.
sepia green. Money aside, a
Yeah.
70, a 2.2S, fuck yeah, I'll tap that.
What do you think, Dave? What do you think?
I don't know if I can top Paul's comment there, but I don't feel quite exactly the same way. But I would take the brown car as well, the sepia brown
Yeah.
car. Browns are getting hot again. Porsche list, just they are. I mean, it's just like colors go through cycles, right? And all the brown
Trust me, I
cars
love
now.
brown. I want them to be hot again. The macadamia brown came out in 2006, 7, 8, and I'm like, brown is back. It never caught. Sorry.
It's
All right,
well, okay.
so
I'd go with
Paul,
that car for sure. You're up,
I
Paul.
think actually I would agree with you guys. I would get the sepia brown, the S, and I also agree with you about the early, having driven them. That if you a 70 or 71 just does feel exactly like what you dream of an old 911 to feel like, or really any car. That's where a lot of, if you've driven one, that becomes a benchmark car for everything else to be compared to. The challenge is driving one that's not a piece of crap. Even if one's been restored correctly, it doesn't really matter. You have to drive one that's been restored and then been gone through by somebody actually, like a Marco, who actually knows how all the things are supposed to be. Otherwise, you're driving somebody's interpretation of what it's supposed to feel like. And that's the hard part, finding an honest car or a car that's been restored by somebody who knew what the heck they were doing. And I'm afraid there's going to be a whole generation that's going to never have that experience. So there you go. All right. So, Paul, you've got some interesting cars that you were watching at auction.
Yeah, and we touched on this briefly because it had just closed. But what was more interesting about it was I wanted to compare two 996s. The Magnus 996 versus another 996, a white 2003 996 Aero kit. And the main reason is I wanted to see the Magnus effect, and would be great is to see if it was on a newer car. So the 996 is the 914 of the modern day. This is your entry Porsche. This is how you get into the 911 game, because you can get one potentially for 20 grand. So I think the 996 naturally attracts a younger buyer. So Magnus is closed last Friday, and it was a 99, and I remember when he bought this car because he was asking me about importing a 996.1 GT3, which I just told him, go get a 996.1 Aero kit car and do some suspension work, which is what he ended up doing. It's it's a red black 996.1. Interestingly, Aero kit added after the fact. It had iBox suspension. It was a driver's car. It was a little bit rough. It had been on Bring a Trailer in 2019. It had only bid for 19,000. There was a lot of comments about work not done. Magnus had it then, for what, 6 years, put 2,000 miles on it. I saw it once in a while up on the crest, very rarely. I think it was more of something he enjoyed driving in the beginning, and then he was sort of disenchanted. And I think the reason he was disenchanted was I think that it needed a little more sorting and tuning. The person who listed for him on Bring a Trailer, kudos to them because they made this thing look like a rock star. I don't think it ever looked this good in person. And it sold for 48,000, not including fees. That's a 73,000 mile clean Carfax, not original paint, not original Aero kit, questionable history. 2 days later, this bad boy lists for sale. This is a 2003 996.2 Carrera Coupe with 60,000 miles, factory Aero kit, which has that little spoiler. Not,
Taco.
yeah, not quite taco. It's sort of
No,
like
it isn't.
yeah, the taco was the 996.1. This was sort of this weird, almost like a Coke can lip. And so I would put Magnus's car at a condition 3 to 3 minus. I would put this car at a solid 2, maybe even 2 plus. Sold a couple days later for 38,500, not including fees. Really pretty car, all the work done. So then, so if you were comparing apples to apples, that's a 20% delta between the two. But I think if you really, I think Magnus's car that sold for 48, if you take the Magnus part out of it, I think that car is high 20s at best. And so I think the Magnus effect added 50% value. And I tried to research the guy who bought it, but I would bet money, Tim, that the guy who bought it was a younger buyer who was turned on by Magnus with the Urban Outlaw. And this is a great way for him to get into the hobby. He's going to have a little work to do. And I'm always been a fan of Magnus. And if that, I'm glad he's selling some shit, man. He needs to get rid of some stuff. He's got so much stuff. And the reason I motivated him to get rid of stuff is maybe he'll buy more stuff from me or buy something interesting. So that was the two things I was really curious to see what they did.
It's always about you, Paul. Everybody's always thinking about what can
By the
I do
way,
to help.
we're all humans. It's always, we're all selfish people. We're human.
Okay. Well, yeah, but it is interesting. I have never tracked Magnus's sales of his other cars, but I have heard rumor that they all pretty much do sell over, normal retail for the cars. That's pretty
50%
epic.
is the number I came up with.
Yeah. So, I mean, when Full Throttle Talk becomes indeed the #1 automotive podcast in the world, you guys can all raise your prices on the cars you're consigning. So there you go. Path forward.
So Paul, a question for you. Can you flip back to the white car again? So it's got side skirts in the wing.
Factory side skirts, factory wing, and that was on the build.
So let's say that was a 2004 with Aero Kit Cup
2003.
But let's say it was a 2004 with Aero Kit Cup 2, which is basically like what a 996 GT3 looks like. Would that have been more commensurate to Magnus's car?
Yeah, but don't forget,
that's a real rare car too.
His Aero Kit wasn't a factory Aero Kit; it was added after on. So this, at least, were a la carte. You could see they ordered the side skirts and then they ordered the wing. If this car had the factory Aero Kit, which would make it look a little more like a 996 GT3, not quite, I think it would have been 10 grand more, because Aero Kit 996 cars are super rare. So, and they're sought after.
I'm going to save my response until the next podcast, because I think we've broken a record for a long podcast. So if there's an award for being able to bloviate for, hours on end about basically one topic, we totally win. All right, guys. So thank you for listening to this week's Full Throttle Talk. The podcast is picking up so much traction. We're so thrilled to be part of all of your lives. We're really focused, and we really do spend maybe more time than it sounds like we do when we're doing the show, but all of us are spending hours preparing for the show, coming up with really great content for all of you. We are drilling down on all of these different topics. We're not just skimming the surface. We want to be a podcast that you guys go to where you actually feel like you're sitting around the campfire and you're having conversations that, maybe nobody else on planet Earth would want to be partake in, because it's so specific and so niche oriented. Car nerd stuff. Well, that's what we're all about. So if you have any subject or ideas for future shows or topics or anything like that, the best way to message us is through Insta. So just DM us through Insta. That's great. All these guys' contact information is down below in the show description. So if you want to do business with them, have further follow-up conversations, just message them directly. That always works. And again, please always like and subscribe us on YouTube. Help us to get the word out. Share this with some other car nerd friends you have. Post, share it on your Facebook page. Share just whatever. Help us get the word out to further encourage us, because what, we all have lives. This does take a lot of time, and encourage us with your support by helping the channel grow. So in the meantime, thank you guys. Have a great week, and I'll see you guys next week for the next Full Throttle Talk. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.